They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of all nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome to Rogue Ways. Very excited today to be talking about the metaverse. If you know me, you know I've been talking about it for decades. And here we are. Decades? Yeah, decades. And here we are in 2021. And it's never been more transparent and apparent what they are trying to do. I saw a cool meme today. It was like, all right, fine, stop asking us who we mean when we mean they. We mean these people. And it was like the Rockefellers, the Astons, or whatever. I don't know, all the family, the 13 families. And in addition to that, the whatever Club of Rome and the Council of 300 and the Council of Foreign Relations and Council on National Pod. I don't even remember all their stupid fucking names because there's so goddamn many of them. The beast system, in short. That's who we mean when we say they. The clones. All of the fucking little puppets that are strung about across the world stage pretending to be leaders. That's who we mean when we say they. And I don't even remember where I was going with that. But I'm excited because I'm streaming to Twitch and Twitter for the first time right now. So I think I can see your chat if you're on Twitch or Twitter. So you can go ahead and chat me and see what's up, Biggie Smollett and Isaiah Smith in the YouTube chats. And Kaylee over in the Rockfin chat. And I know we're just going to get more and more people here tonight in on this. A lot of this is stuff, if you've been paying any attention for any amount of time, you're going to be pretty familiar with. But there's always fun things to tie together and bring out when we're talking about this stuff. Ooh, another really cool thing that I want to look into sooner or later. If you guys have seen it, maybe you can start researching and checking it out. But we've long talked about how it's pretty unlikely that the 13 families are the actual families. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking way up there on the pyramid of control. They're like maybe even second or third tier down, but there's got to be people behind them, right? That we've never even heard of. We've said this, I've said it a million times, but a lot of people have said a lot. Well, somebody put out a list of 13 new family names, and they're all super weird sounding. And I was like, well, this could be the largest pile of shit ever. And then people are just going to run with it and start making shit up. Or it could be real. It could be true. So it's interesting. If you've seen that, I would love to get your guys' thoughts on that. Oh, what's up, Lindsay Kitty? Lindsay, it's Lindsay. Nice to see you in the chat. And yeah, I know there's some places where I'm not going to be able to see your comments. If you're on Facebook, that's one of them. I never see the Facebook comments, not only because they don't pop up live, because Facebook sucks, but also because Facebook itself won't give me a notification telling me that you've commented on a thing. This is true for all my Facebook posts. I often have to go find my own posts and look at the comments because I won't get a notification that you've commented. Facebook sucks. So go to rogue.locals.com where I see every single comment and post ever made. And for just $2 a month, you can join in on that non-censorship, non-metaverse that we're going to talk about tonight. Just platform, just for people and creators. It's a beautiful place. I love it. It's the best community online, like I always say. And if you're in there, you get access to all the stuff. The other day, what was that, yesterday? I did a November tarot look ahead at the month. A lot of deep shit came out during that chat. And so if you were there, if you're a member on Rockfin or Locals, you got access to that. And I'm also now doing some audio that I'm not releasing on the podcast. There was a little loophole for a long time that if you were paying attention, you knew about, that even if you couldn't watch a video because it was behind a paywall like Rockfin or Locals or Subscribestar, they all have the same content, by the way. You can choose your favorite platform. But if you were just listening, you could get the audio for anything, even if it wasn't allowed for public consumption on video platforms. So that was a little loophole. I'm not doing that anymore. If you want the audio and the video of the content that is behind the paywall, then you have to support the show. And that happens not very often anyway. Most of the shit I do, I've given away for free for 3 years, 3 times a week for multiple hours. So if you love the content that you find here and you love Rogue Ways, then that is a great way to give back, is to become a supporter in one of those places and get some more free content. I always do the tarot at least once a month to share for the month ahead what we can look out for on the economic front, the physical health front, the social, emotional, mental, love, interest fronts, and the spiritual front. And then there's always some other messages that come through as well. So that's always every month just for exclusive content for subscribers. And then I also often do some meditations or some special bonus material content of other types. So each month you get a couple of those things plus other perks. If you're on Subscribestar, you get even more perks because that's how that works. So very grateful to all of you who support in whatever ways you do. Even and especially if it's liking right now, hitting the like button, whatever platform you're on, commenting, even commenting helps the algorithm think that I'm something to share with people, and sharing the content. You are not only welcome to, please do share the content that you like with people who you think will like it. That's the whole point of putting this out there, is for everybody to enjoy it. So please share wherever you find that to be appropriate. And just come hang out. I love to have you guys be here and be you. Johnny Larson's in the chat. I love that guy. Aaron, thank you so much for the tip, Aaron. You keep me going. Mooney, appreciate it as well over on Rockfin. And honestly, I think I was saying it before, but Rockfin is the one place where you can get everything all the time. Every live stream, it's never censored. You can always get the, subscriber content there first, because it's a place that lets me live stream to it, so I don't have to repost it afterwards like some other places, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so if you're on YouTube, fine, but there's probably some time today where I have to cut the stream off because of content that I want to talk about and not censor myself about, and I think it's pretty late in the show, but you still might want to jump over to Rockfin right now so you don't have to deal with that. All right, I think that's most of the intro content. I am super excited, like really, really excited to tell you about some new things, if you didn't already know about them, that are happening. And one of those, this is rogueways.org, by the way. And this weekly meditation membership starts Thursday. It's Tuesday now. And Thursday we'll be doing our first of this month, and twice a week this month we will be meditating together. And if you buy this subscription, this is not for supporters of Rockfin. It's not for Subscribestar supporters. It's not for Rockfin supporters. This is a special package you buy each month if you want to join 2 meditations a week. They tend to be 15 minutes to 45 minutes long. That sounds like a long time for some people, I think. But if you've meditated with me, you know it's guided. It's super relaxing. It's source channeled, and it's different every time because of that. And so if you enjoy those and you want to up your game and bring yourself some brightness, especially as things start to get dark this winter, this is perfect for you. And you can go to rogueways.org. It's the first post, and there's links there to the shop where you can purchase it, or you can just read about it and check it out. And so that starts this Thursday. I'm very excited. And tomorrow is our first Brighter You meeting class time together, and so I'm very excited about that as well. If you're interested in Brighter You, it is too late to start with us this time around, but next session will be starting in January. It's a 6-week series of courses to uplift yourself, your spiritual guidance and gifts, and to hopefully get to the point where you feel confident offering those to the world. So that is Brighter You, and that starts tomorrow. So really exciting things are happening. And of course, there's always so much content on rogueways.org that you can check out. If you want to buy some orgone pendants, blessed crystal, and stone-infused jewelry that I make myself, every single one is different. It'll never be the same thing twice, just for you. Or my books that are also channeled from source and signed by me and sent to you, and a million other things, including tarot readings and spiritual guidance one-on-one. That's all on the site at rogueways.org. And This is Locals. I just want to remind people, again, the audio is going to be posted there if you're a member, a supporter there. The tarot readings are posted there, unless you grab them on Rockfin because you're a supporter there. And all the updates, it looks right now like I'm the only person who posts, and that's not true. I just so happen to have pinned like 7 things. And this is a really worthy article if you haven't seen it yet. I covered it recently, and I don't want to cut the streams just yet, so I'm not going to read out loud what it is, but maybe you can see on the screen that it's about a certain medication that is being given by certain people and how it may or may not be linked to AIDS and HIV. So that's on Locals, the best community online. Of course, Telegram is awesome, and I'll see you all there too. So let's talk about mind control. There's so much of it. If you've never watched The Minds of Men, and honestly, I can't even say that I have, because I watched like 2 out of the 3 hours of it and was like, I can't fucking even take anymore. Like, this shit is so dark. It is so dark. But The Minds of Men is an awesome documentary made by the beautiful people over at Truth Stream Media, old school favorites. And they did an excellent job really deeply documenting all of the horrifying ways which psychologists, especially psychopaths completely, have tried to break humans mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and disconnect them from themselves and source to such a deep degree that if you're looking at it spiritually, you end up leaving yourself completely and perhaps allowing space for something else to come through. And this is, in fact, part of the goal of mind control. This is deep, dark roots in occult black magic. We could have gone back even further than this. This is just the documented aspect of our modern culture's use of these methods, methodologies, and aspects of control. And so this isn't new. And the group doing this isn't new either. We're just couching it in materialist terms here. So it's easy to show to people, not that the sleepers will notice. They don't notice a lot, even if you put it right in front of them. So there's that. And it's interesting because MK Ultra, as we all know, has ended. It's over now. But of course it's not. Of course it's not. Why would they stop? Right? It's just that project of that specific name accomplished its goal. And so who knows what else there is that has never been declassified that we don't know about, but we can imagine, unfortunately. So they always, of course, what are they? That Alison McDowell has a nice term for this. I can't remember at the top of my head, but she's really cool. She's on the same vibe and wavelength, except she's really blown up on her research about and documentation of the various ways that this metaverse that is growing ever more by the day, the metaverse of technocratic control, has really grown, and all its little tentacles have wrapped around the world, and it's really set to like stranglehold and be an a cage that we can't escape. Well, she talks about how they always start, and we've talked about it too, but she has a phrase for it. I just wish I could remember it at the moment. But anyway, she talks about how they always start with something somewhat acceptable to people. They're like, oh, look, we're going to use this technology to help paraplegics. It's always paraplegics. We're going to help this technology to help babies who are born too early. And you're always like your heartstrings because you're human, because you're not a psychopath. And you're like, oh, that's great. I love that we're doing that. Like, I support this. And then they twist it and they're like, yeah, and now we can enslave you with it. And you're like, wait, what? Like, that's not what my heart loves. I don't want to support this. They always do that. And Alison McDowell has a great term for it. But if you remember in the chat, let me know. I would appreciate that. But here in MK Ultra, they're like, oh, this was being used to just develop better interrogation methods. We just want to ask people questions better and get better answers. And so I guess if you're, somewhat logical and whatever, that you're like, oh, well, I mean, we have enemies and we want to question them. So yeah, I guess I can kind of understand that there's always a way that they get you to accept it. And this is the way for MK Ultra. But what they actually did is drug people and psychologically torture them, and brainwash them. I don't know how you could expect to get a good answer out of someone who's drugged, tortured, and brainwashed. So that's how we know it was never even for that, but that's just what they told us so that we would let it slide. But, they manipulated mental states, brain functions, especially with high doses of psychoactive drugs like LSD and other chemicals that are probably listed here and some that probably aren't. electroshock. I don't want to put the word therapy after that because it's like, whatever. I'm sure there's some good uses of it. I guess we can call it a therapy, but it's mostly bullshit. Hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse. Sexual abuse. Oh, God. Like, yeah, we just, like, used government money to fuck people and rape them to death, and it was great. We really got some good answers out of them, and we interrogated them. Like, what the fuck? And people found out about this and were like, what the fuck? And now people are like, oh, yeah, it's just, like, a thing. It was weird. I'm like, no, it's like, this is still our government. This is still how shit operates. Nothing has changed. So anyway, this happened. We all kind of know that. It came out somehow, I guess, through a Freedom of Information Act. And this is part of how we know they really do have rules that they operate by, because why would you ever tell us this, right? They really do have some sort of, whether it's karma or whether they really do have to follow some sort of law. And we've talked about all the different types of law there could be, like maritime law, the law of the land, cosmic law, all these different layers of it. Seems like they do actually have to follow a lot of it. And again, you know who we mean when we say they. We actually do now. It's just so convenient to say they instead of listing like the Club of Rome and all this shit. What's up in the chat? Whoa. It's hard to scroll. I don't know what it is about Rockfin. What's up, Alex? Nice to see you. One day of brightness on winter solstice is right, Kaylee. It's not actually on the solstice. It's on the 19th. We get as close as we can on a weekend day because that's when more people can come. And so the 19th, we're celebrating the winter solstice. And this is the second go-around. We started on winter solstice of 2020, and now we're going to be on winter solstice 2021. And so one day of brightness this year is going to be super special on the winter solstice on the 19th. And you can already go and grab your ticket to that. A lot of people already have. I'm not even sure how many are left, but I know there's a handful, but you could go grab it if you want to make sure you get your spot. What's up, Lindsay Smith? I think I already said hi to you, but I'm saying it again. What's up, Travis? Nice to see you. Justin Michael. Winningism is right. Hashtag winningism. Winning, one. Justin Michael says, where do these bright winter shirts come from that you speak of? Well, if you look below you somewhere, there should be a list of links, or you can go to my link tree and you can find the tees and merch link. It is a Teespring store for Rogue Ways, and bright winter shirts are there. They used to be on my site, but I just switched over to a new supplier that's more reliable and better. They have more colors, they have more styles. They're just better. So you can go grab that and Rogue Ways shirts and Middle Path shirts and stickers and phone things and cups and all sorts of stuff. Kelsey W., nice to see you. Yeah. I forgot about the Teespring. I forgot to tell anyone, but it exists and the links are there and you can go find it. Seriously, whether you're watching anywhere or listening to this anywhere, you can click below you to the link tree and go find it. But I think it's also in the list of links below. So anyways, they go through all the details that we don't really need to know. But they also talk about the different types of substances and materials that they use to just test like which ones seem to get more truth, which ones seem to muddy people more. And whatever. And so they just really wanted to get into that. So you can imagine that every single one of those things had a purpose too. That isn't just interrogation. That's the cover story. But the real story is, what do they want to do to people and how are they going to achieve those ends? They want to muddy you. They want to make you sick physically. They want to make you clearer and more honest and logical. They can do any of these things if they apply the right input. I remember years and years ago, Michael Watt and I were talking, and he said, for whatever reason, it seems like humans are built in such a way that you really can press certain buttons and do certain inputs, and they will act in a certain way. And I agree with him to an extent, and yet I also I know by experience that it doesn't always happen either, and we've heard of, for example, high level practitioners of various spiritual traditions being given really high doses of LSD and just not being affected at all. So we know that we can actually control ourselves. But we also know when we're unconscious a bit, or when we're fearful, or when we give up our intention, we give up our will. But it's a lot harder to do those things. And we've been doing that most of our lives. Most of us have been giving up all of those things. And so it's really past time that we start practicing being present and being intentional and being cognizant of what's happening around us, what's happening to us, and what we are happening upon the world around us. So anyway, that's MK Ultra. Deaths, of course, happened. Lol. I mean, it was fucking horrifying. It's horrifying. It's just fucking horrifying. Like, this is just like the lightest touch upon how horrifying it is. There's, like I said, documentaries and things that go really deep into it, and that's not what we're here to do today. We're just here to remember how bad. Project Artichoke is another one. It's less often talked about and heard of, but it's very similar. It also allegedly was looking into interrogation methods. It specifically studied hypnosis, morphine addiction, and withdrawal, amnesia, and to produce vulnerable states in their subjects. Vulnerable states, as in, then we can imprint you or insert things into you or control you because you're vulnerable. Just like an abuser does to their victims, we're going to make you vulnerable, and now you're easy to control. So whatever they're stated, oh, it's for interrogation. Like, no, it's for controlling people and forcing people to behave in certain ways, just like a horrible abuser would do. MK Naomi is another one that tested lethal biochemical agents on people. And as I say, it's to provide the CIA with every means possible to maim or kill targeted groups or individuals through the use of toxic and lethal biochemical agents. And I just bring this up again because it's not necessarily just to kill. It's to also maim and control people. Targeted ways. This is cool, though. This seems like it could be a cool organization. That's the Alliance for Human Research Protection. As in, we should only have informed consent and purely voluntary participation in things like this, which it was not necessarily true that was so in Project Artichoke, MK Ultra, and the likes. There's also Bluebird, which is not often talked about as well. And God, I'm sure I'm like missing 10,000. I'm sure there's so many. They do want us controllable. What's up, X-Cubed420 in the YouTube chat? Nice to see you. Yeah, subliminal is even weirder. We're going to get to that shit too. Sterilization is a nice bonus for them for sure. Bran, thank you so much for the tip. Appreciate it so much. I definitely do need the link. Well, I would be happy to post it here, but I don't want to stop the show to find it. Bluebird, the deliberate creation of multiple personality by psychiatrists. So again, we have more and more links. We can look at any of these and we can see their actual motives, right? But Bluebird is one of the ones where we're like, oh, yeah, it's really obvious. You literally want to see how you can break people, make them vulnerable at the utmost level, and then force their psyche out of their body so that something else more malleable and programmable or more aligned with your goals on a spiritual level can come in. So you can call this multiple personality or new identities or dissociative disorder or any of these things, and you can look at those in any way you want. There's many materialist ways. There's mostly materialist ways to look at that, but I always look at it through a spiritual lens because I know that it's a spiritual experience people are having, and that disassociation is a spiritual effect that happens when your soul knows that you cannot handle what's happening at the moment without actually shattering and breaking, and so you leave for a moment, and what comes in its place? I think if you're lucky, something really good can come through, and if you're not, something really bad can come through, and then that thing now has a hold on you. And especially if you don't know, or you're not holding that space, intention, and presence, then it would be pretty hard to get rid of it. Especially if you're looking at it from a materialist point of view, it would be almost impossible to get rid of it. Dissociative identity disorder is often considered nearly incurable, and is studied, and a lot of therapies are offered, and a lot of people have a lot of progress and successes. But I think that part of why it has very little success is because people don't look at it as a spiritual malady. People like Jerry Marzinski do, but Jerry Marzinski and his ilk are not necessarily in control, and they're definitely run out of town if they're open about saying, like, yeah, there's other entities that are coming into these people and controlling them. So Bluebird is really aiming to shatter people's psyches, give them multiple personality disorder, and control some of those psyches that are triggered to take hold, so that they can then, like the Manchurian Candidate, go assassinate or do all these things. The thing is, that doesn't even make sense, because lots of people will assassinate for you and not care. And they're like, no, this is so you can't be, interrogated, and they can't find out, like, you can't narc on us or whatever. And I'm like, I guess. But the people who are supposedly Manchurian Candidates are like, I don't know, dude. I don't remember what happened. But clearly I was, like, doing this, and then it was suddenly hours later and I was in a jail cell. You're like, well, that's a pretty big giveaway. So I almost feel like this is a limited hangout. Like, the Manchurian Candidate aspect of things like Project Bluebird are just to cover for what they are really doing, which is finding a way to empty the body and separate the soul from the body to allow something else to come through and take hold. It seems that a lot of things are aimed that direction the more you look at the history of black magic, satanic ritual abuse, and things like this. So, whatever you think, cool. I'm just saying, seems likely to me. Seems like it could be the thing. So there's a lot, again, of just horrifying, absolutely terrible experimentation on humans to these ends of shattering their psyche and installing other personas for all kinds of reasons. So Bluebird is the one lots of people skip over or just haven't heard of, which is really easy. There's so many, and MK Ultra is the most obvious and therefore the one that most people talk about, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's a lot more. And again, we're not even touching on most of them. So The Minds of Men is the best way you can go find out really deeply all of the detailed analysis and documentation of these things that have been going on and for how long they've been going on, because we're barely scratching the surface here. Fear is the greatest mind control is right, Gordon. I will not fear. Fear is the mini death. I will let the fear pass through me, and when it is gone, only I will remain. X Cubed is on Rockfin now. Woo! Like literally, right? You have a channel and you're here. Is that right? I think so. Let us know in the chat. Bran asks, have I been hearing about the recently new phenomenon of targeted individuals? Yeah, a lot. I have been for many years. And it's definitely real. And I've interviewed people who have been targeted, such as someone in the chat. I won't out, but they can out themselves if they'd like to. And we did a show together about that. And I myself am targeted in many ways. And so are many people in this community. It's a very well documented real thing that happens. So why do I have another Project Bluebird document? I don't know, man. Why do I have this? Oh, this is the document itself. I wanted to share it with you guys. Okay. I did this morning. Usually I do it like a lot closer to the show. So sometimes I'm like, what? So yeah, there's the link to that if you want to see the actual document for Bluebird, at least. The other ones were easier to find. They're actually linked to in the wiki, I think. So then we talk about Monarch mind control, and this is also one of the more popular ways of looking at these programs. This has been reported by so many people over so many years that it's impossible to deny. It's unfortunate because the little Monarch butterfly never chose to be this symbol for this horror. And monarch butterflies are rad. Like, they're amazing. Like, they travel through everything, like just through every possible adversity that they could ever face as this delicate, tiny, beautiful thing that's just like fluttering in the breeze. And they somehow end up getting to their goal thousands of miles away to rebirth and make the next like generation. Like, they're amazing. And so if anything, we can remember what they really actually represent, which is that ability to overcome nearly impossible seeming adversity and transform themselves into something beyond what anyone could have thought possible. So if anyone out there is struggling with monarch mind control, just remember that that's the real reason. That's a real message of the monarch butterfly. And if we can all just like sit here for a second and imagine that anyone suffering from this uses that symbol instead to tickle that part of their soul and brain that is still intact and wake them up to remind them that they can get out of this hell, let's do that. So God bless them. By numerous organizations, monarch mind control is used. It's a continuation of MK Ultra, which was the mind control program we just talked about. Tested on military and civilians, and now used, I'm sure, ubiquitously around the world by all sorts of organizations. The methods are astonishingly sadistic. Its entire purpose is to traumatize the victim, and the expected results are horrifying. The creation of a mind-controlled slave who could be triggered at any time to perform any action required by the handler. When you really think about what psychopaths would trigger a person to do, the list is horrifying and endless, and the stories that we've heard from people who have seemed to survive this and escape from it are beyond our worst imaginings. So again, we send out nothing but love and compassion to anyone who's been unfortunate enough to be controlled in this way or any way. You know, anyone who suffered abuse from an abusive person, especially like a lover or a parent or something, you can imagine, because it's the same hell, right? And then you got out of it. And you're like, thank God. And it was like a weird fucking foggy dream where you're like, how the fuck did I even get lost in that? Like, I knew better. And this is that on a deeper scale than I think even we can imagine, those of us who have survived that type of abuse. So we can give a lot of compassion to these people, a lot of love to these people who are stuck in this place. And we can imagine the little monarch butterfly flies into their subconscious and frees the part of them that can get through this. And I'll tell you a story later about how I know that our intentions like that and our love and our compassion actually works on a deep level. So we just do it. We take a moment to do it because we know it works. So monarch mind control programming. Interesting. I was talking earlier about how this goes back thousands of years, and it says here this is Vigilant Citizen, by the way. This is one of the oldest school sites that I've ever loved since back in the day. I want to say I've been going to this site since like 2003 or something. So if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure that's true. Like, I love Vigilant Citizen. They've just like changed so much and upped their game so many times throughout the years, and they're still as relevant as they ever have been. And so they just have this little quote here. We were talking about how old this type of black magic is, and it says one of the earliest writings giving reference to the use of occultism to manipulate the mind can be found in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I'm gonna bet money we could find something before then, even if we were looking. Describes methods of torture and intimidation to create trauma, the use of potions and drugs, and the casting of spells like hypnotism, ultimately resulting in the total enslavement of the initiate. The initiate! Like, we're initiating you. Trust us. This is great for you. Not all initiations are good initiations. Other events ascribed to black magic, sorcery, and demon possession, where the victim is animated by an outside force, are also ancestors of monarch programming. So again, I'm going to take it straight to that level again, because I know no matter what they're saying it's all for, the really root purpose is to supplant you with something else that isn't you, that is anti-life while you are pro-life. But now we're in the 20th century and it's materialized and it's codified and it's got a white lab coat on, so it's acceptable. And the black magicians now are on TV and they're trusted for some reason. And so we don't see it. So this is a really popular to say commonly shared picture of a very young MK Ultra subject in 1961. And by very young, I mean she looks to me like she might be 11. And there's signs on the wall that say strain all the urine. There's some kind of weird like wires strapped up to her head, and her chin is held shut, probably because of things like electrocution, which would otherwise cause her to maybe bite off her own tongue, so she's being strapped down. Super disturbing. And this is just the picture we see. What do we not see? How many things happen that we'll never see? Torture is one of those things where I'm just like, I just don't even fucking get, like, who can do that? And what the fuck happened to them to make them do it? And then people are like, oh, you know, the abusers become the abusers. The abused becomes the abusers. The tortured becomes the torturers. But like, who was the first? Who's the first torturer? Who's the first abuser? Like, where did this start? I think we have to go all the way back there and heal that ancestral trauma to be finally free of the type of psyche that does this. So there are people who get out of this and deprogram themselves. And we're going to talk a bit about that too. And of course, the reason they chose something like the butterfly is because these butterflies start their lives as like a little slimy caterpillar wormy type thing. And then they cocoon, which is their allegory, you know, relating to the programming stage. And they're reborn as this butterfly, which is actually the slave. And of course, this is the inversion. Really, it'd be more similar to them capturing a monarch butterfly, beautiful and delicate and elegant, and cocooning it by force to program it and turn it into a worm. Right? Or like devolving people. Confinement, torturing. I'm not going to read through this horrible list. It's very thorough though. And they talk about these different movies and things that are used over and over again, which is really interesting to think about because we all have often liked and loved and seen these movies. And so if you think about the morphogenetic field around those movies, the morphogenetic field that we're feeding into by watching it, loving it, singing the songs, thinking about it, and all this stuff, and that they're taking that and then using that energy as part of, like, again, if we're not conscious about it and we're just giving it away or just shooting it into the TV or whatever, and they're just robbing us of it, then they can use it, I think, for what they would like. And so they mentioned The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio, and Sleeping Beauty. And if you really look at any of these shows and you think about like the underlying, like all of them have often a young girl or a young boy in some cases who is for whatever reason like just fucked up, and that's traumatizing right at the beginning. Like Dorothy's in this fucking horrible storm, and like Alice falls down and runs away or whatever and is in a whole different world. They both are. Pinocchio, like all Sleeping Beauty, like they're all like traumatized and fucked up and suffering in some way. And then they're all in this different, totally fucking whacked out world, and they have to find their way through it. And it's very, very unsettling. And if you look at the root of trauma in all humans, trauma is either blunt and instant and so forceful that you can't deal with it in the moment, or it's ongoing and unstable for so long that you never have anything you can trust or hold on to, and that breaks you. It's one or the other or both, and both of those are in each of these types of movies, and who knows how many more. Who knows how many more they've got since then. These are the old ones. So they also use these to teach people where the happy place is. You go over the rainbow. Oh, look, now you have these friends. Oh, but here's the bad witch. She's going to get you. Like, it's fucked up, dude. We had the show where we talked about all the brain waves and what they do and what they're good for. But this has a different look at it because we weren't looking at it in terms of programming ourselves or being traumatized. But alpha brain waves, it says, are within the base control personality. So that's when you're going to be normal. Like, they snap and you're now just like, oh yeah, I'm like Lindsay, I'm normal. Beta waves is where they can program you to be very sexual, apparently. Often it's symbolized by cats, cat print, leopard print, kitten ears, cat ears, and these types of things, especially in music videos and the like. Delta is the killer program, apparently. So this is where you're like probably super hyper clear and can do like Matrix-like moves. And then theta is a psychic programming, and I've heard of this before where they can use the same type of programming to make people even more psychic, and we've seen this in movies and stories and stuff for a while, where these children especially will be trained to be not just psychic, not just like far-seeing or remote viewing or those types of things, but manipulating matter with their psychic energy. And it makes sense to me if it's real, because kids are often already very close to source, or however we want to describe that, and so they're already full of like a lot of really pure energy. It's very powerful. And then if you can also add some trauma, some adrenaline, and some really horrifying motivation for them to use that in that way, it'd be interesting. I think you could probably pull off some really dark shit in that way. But it's talking here too about how bloodliners, or those coming from multi-generational satanic families, so like the 13 families we were talking about at the beginning, or the real 13 families that are maybe even behind them, they seem to exhibit a greater propensity for having these abilities. And then people talk about that's negative blood types, but I'm a negative blood type, and so are many people who love rogue ways, and I don't think it has anything to do with being a part of a satanic family necessarily, although they may be a much higher concentration of negative blood types. A lot of people say so. I've not actually seen evidence, and I don't know how we would know. But anyway, they do say that those people, and children especially, would be easiest to program in this way, the psychic sort of way. So there's a real good overview. Oops. And I will drop that link in too for those of you who want to read more deeply. I just love Vigilant Citizen. And of course, we've seen this symbolism often, especially if you have looked into this at all. There's a lot of people like Isaac Weishaupt is a really thorough and long-time investigator of this type of symbolism, especially in music videos. He's very good. He's written a lot of books on it. He's been on Rogue Ways if you want to, but you could just go check out his channel on Rockfin also, and he has almost nothing but this type of content. So he's been one of the names that has really documented this very like religiously over the years. But we see this monarch butterfly specifically. We don't see other butterflies often. Sometimes we do, but more often we see only monarch butterflies in a lot of these really, really big celebrities' imagery, whether in their outfits that they're wearing to whatever stupid thing they're going to, or whether in their music video, or both. And it's really, like, it's to the point now where once you pay attention to it for a little while, you're like, dude, still? Like, more? Like, how are you still doing this? And how are so many people not noticing? But we can remember there was a time where we didn't notice all the monarch butterflies either. And now we do. So, basically any superstar you see is probably a monarch mind control victim. I say that because they don't let people get big who aren't controllable in this way. They might be big, but they're not like superstars, right? There are some people who are famous and not mind controlled and not slaves in this way. Most people are slaves in some way. They're not in this way, right? That exists. But especially if they're huge, like Michael Jackson, Katy Perry, Christina Aguilera, and Beyonce, and all these fucking people, they are almost always mind controlled. And we can see so much evidence of it, not just in the monarch butterfly, but as Isaac Weishaupt is so good at pointing out, there's almost always shattered mirrors. There's almost always multiple versions of themselves, literally, like in the video. And then there's all kinds of other just Illuminati shit that we could do like a whole show on, in addition to that level of symbolism. You know, like the bathtub fucking scene is in like everybody's shit. Like there's all that shit. But the monarch butterfly is often there. And when you see it, you can be like, well, okay, I guess you're mind controlled too. And you know, it's always going to be possible. There's going to be someone who's both famous and has a monarch butterfly who isn't mind controlled. But it's not going to be likely if they're a superstar. It's funny because I wouldn't normally cover something like this because I'm like, well, this has been covered 20 billion times and it's like so old. But then I remember not everybody's been looking at shit forever, or not everybody's heard of certain things. And I included, like when someone brought up I'm not even going to get his name right, William Cooper. I was like, who's that? And they're like, what the fuck? Like, you know all this shit, you don't know him? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. So there's always some of us who have blind spots. So I'm going to keep trying to talk about things that I think are like well established and old to make sure that we're all aware of some of this. Thank you, Lindsay Smith, for sharing the T public link. I appreciate that so much. Travis says, abused becomes abusers is such a psyop to explain away intentional torture. The number of abuse victims who are beautiful and healed souls proves that it's a fallacy. It's a great point. I always also point to some people I know who have literally both gone through the exact same things, and one became a fucked up, murdering, torturing, horrible, drug-addicted horror, and another came like the most beautiful, healed soul ever. So it really is true that you can go through anything and come out unexpectedly or different than intended. So don't ever think that it's just settled and done. The science is never settled, as we know here. Mooney says, mind control is worse than death. Yes, I agree. And that's why it's important that we are present and hold space within our mind, our heart, and our soul so that we can't be mind controlled. And that includes taking back our attention from a lot of the shit that is produced for us, the programming. It's not an accident that it's called programming that is poured down our faces and throats. X-Cubed, thank you so much for the tip. Gotta go. We'll catch you. We'll catch you on Rockfin. Everybody go check out X-Cube 420 if you haven't yet. We did an episode together if you want to watch that. And he also has his channels, I think, now on Rockfin and a lot of other places as well. X-Cube 420 is a badass. Mooney, yes, the butterfly means positive. That's true. And if we want to use, I think, an even better symbol, I'm always a fan of the dragonfly, as you may well know, for reasons that I've said before, and I'll say it again. The dragonfly doesn't only undergo a complete transformation of self into a completely new being, completely different form, completely different abilities, but it goes from one type of atmosphere, being water, lives completely underwater, never touches the air or breathes air, and then one day it's just suddenly like, I'm going to climb up that thing over there and see what's up there. And then it comes out into the air, a completely different substance, and that triggers its transformation into a dragonfly, and now it can fly. It was swimming, and it just climbed out into a completely new space and started flying. I think that's an even better, we can take back the symbol of the monarch, but we could also just use the dragonfly instead. It's even, I think, more effective. Kyle asks, is this that orange-gray? Oh, yeah, we did the yellow-gray symbolism that Alex, our resident numerologist, had pointed out to us via, I can't remember where he found it from, but I did a whole episode on that, and that's a really good point, Kyle, that is very similar to this orange and black or orange and gray monarch coloring. And a lot of these images we're looking at right now are that exact same color tone. So it's a really nice catch. I like that. I don't like what it implies at all. I don't like that at all. But I like that you caught it. It's very good. So we can all be more wary even from that gray and yellow or gray and orange color palette that they're promoting this year. That there's a lot more to it. A lot of mind control going on. And, you know, I'll just mention again while we're on this random topic thread here that the coronavirus, remember we broke this down a while ago, corona is crown virus, infect your crown, infect your mind. It's a mind control psyop more than anything else. I probably should have just killed YouTube before saying that out loud, and hopefully that's not the strike that gets my shit deleted, but whatever. So think about the mind control aspects of this year, and then like Kyle pointed out, match that up with the Monarch color system. It's pretty clear, actually. Nice catch. All right, Kyle said, I learned through my spirituality that the free will is our gift because it's our failsafe against all types of mind control, including from AI. That's why they need permission. Oh, sorry, Kelsey said that. Yeah, exactly, Kelsey. I am in complete agreement. That's why I constantly support all of us getting deeper and deeper within so that we can always have our own will and consciousness connected, clear, and in presence. Kathy O'Brien is one of the biggest names, and a lot of people therefore hate her, and a lot of people love her. She's a really old school whistleblower on the MK Ultra mind control, kitten sex programming, especially revealing that her and others like her were controlled in this way for specifically the psychopathic elite, like our politicians and clergy and whatever, the controllers. And so that's how she came about, is really blowing the whistle on that. She wrote Transformation of America, as in trance, like being entranced, formation of America. And she talked about the goal to use these types of things to take over not just the nation, but the world. So I think she's cool. I like that she drew attention to this. She's been very effective in doing that. She also talks about how to heal from this, especially from PTSD, which is essentially the same sorts of thing. It's trauma and fractured psyche, right? And so I think that's cool. What people point out about her, whether you think it matters or not, is that how was she able to live and tell the story? And this, but we could ask this about everyone, because there's a ton of people who have told this story. And I'm going to say the same thing I say every time, which is that there's either something about consent, like we just mentioned in the chat, and she rescinded her consent and so that she's not allowed to be touched, and or there's a spiritual level of protection that comes in when you call on it and are in touch with it and have that present with you. And it could be both. And it could be that she's a shill piece of shit that's lying and like misleading us for some reason. And that could be true too. So of course you can keep that in mind if you want. I just don't lean that direction. And if you have a reason you think I should, feel free to share it. I would love to hear it. But anyway, I like to go back to her because she was one of the original people who was able to bring this to a large audience of people and make it a lot more obvious and talked about, which is great. Because we're not ever going to heal anything that we can't look at or understand. And like Gordon says, all they really have to do is discredit you to your family and your friends, or to people in general. And they do it all the time, and we see it all the time. As soon as someone credible comes forward, they're like, like, look at Julian Assange. Again, people have the same exact thing about him. Like, he's a shill, whatever, I don't really care. But if you just look at the surface, he comes out, he has all this information, he does a great job of bringing attention to it, and they're like, well, he raped a woman. And that turned out to be false, but it happened in people's minds, and that was all that mattered. And they do it all the time. They're like, oh, this is what's happening, and people are like, oh, that's what's happening. And then even though it's discredited, they don't hear the follow-up. They don't hear the discrediting of the discrediting. So... but Kathy O'Brien also talks about satanic ritual abuse, and this phrase has come to us because a lot of survivors of satanic ritual abuse have come forward. And this is where we really see that things like MK Ultra, Project Artichoke, Project Naomi, Project Bluebird, and a billion others were insanely similar to satanic ritual abuse. So much so that it makes you wonder if there wasn't a satanic impulse behind them doing all those things in the first place. Just like Vigilant Citizen pointed out, and I had said earlier in the show as well, there is very likely a reason why this connects back thousands of years to ancient black magic. And it's because it's a spiritual event. It's a spiritual technique, which is empowering, by the way, because just like we also just said in the chat, that's why you could survive this / escape it altogether. Just by knowing that you're a soul and just going, I'm not going to do that. No thanks. Maybe even asking for your spiritual allies to help you out in a moment you needed it. It's empowering because all of us have a soul and all of us have spiritual allies and all of us can be present and cognizant and with our will intact and escape things like this. I genuinely believe it's not possible to hypnotize me. I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I guess someone could disagree. Yeah, Kelsey says Julian Assange was on that Illuminati card, Stay Dead. Those Illuminati cards are super sketchy to me because because no one has ever found a supposedly original version of this supposed game. And it allegedly existed before the internet and scanning and all this stuff. And yet there's not a single one that is actually out there in the world. And then there's new ones that come up all the time. So I think that art style, whatever, was, I don't know, I think it was originally just kind of a hoax, but it was meant to just bring art and artistic style to bringing awareness to some of, you know, the Illuminati type things. And then people now have run away with it, and there's like a card for everything. So I just don't trust it, basically. Kelsey asks, is Donald Marshall legit? I don't know who that is. I have no idea, but I would trust your gut on whatever that is. A lot of people are partially legit and partially not, I'll add. All right, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about satanic ritual abuse. Oh, I'm sorry, YouTube chat. Wow, there's a lot of you over there, and I've been ignoring you for my Rockfin. I didn't mean to. Rockfin is just closer to my visual line of sight. Let me try to adjust that a little bit. It's not you, it's me. The Holy Spirit broke the spell, Pete says. That's right. Call on God, call on Jesus, call on the Holy Spirit, call on whatever you like, call on Buddha, call on your purple dragon friend. Call who you love. But I'm just going to remind you, YouTube people, that you could be over on Rockfin where shit is way better. There's more people and the conversation is lit. We love you either more. How can I not know him? Honestly, I probably came across him and my gut probably either said like, meh, or I didn't need it because I already understood and knew. That happens to me a lot. So if you want me to know him, and then you can send me some stuff and I'll look into it. Kelsey is going to tell me about it later, so I'll find out. I probably do. I come across a lot of stuff where my brain's just like, yeah, we already have this. We don't need more. So it could just simply be that. So satanic ritual abuse. I don't want to read all this shit to you because it's fucking horrible. Like, it's horrible. There are children like I can't remember their names. I just talked about them recently too. 2 kids in England who talked about how their teachers made them cut up babies and stuff. They're not even the first or the last. There's so many children who are like, oh yeah, I just thought it was normal to be put in a coffin with like spiders and worms and snakes and like jizzed on by 60 guys. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? Or just like raped over and over and over again. There's a girl who was like 12. She's just dead-eyed, like dead as fuck-eyed. And so you know, like, she's been through shit no matter what it was, whether she's lying or not. Like, something was as horrible as what she's describing. And she's like, oh yeah, I would be pregnant, and then they'd abort the baby, and then they'd eat it in front of me. And I'm like, what? I mean, there's shit that, like, you can't fucking imagine that these people describe. Can't fucking imagine. Oh, there's that artist. Who is that? Maybe you guys can remind me. There's an artist who escaped and deprogrammed from satanic ritual abuse and started drawing all of the shit that went on to them. And it's fucked up because there's like symbols all over that they were forced to sit within and be raped within. And like, it's horrifying. And what was the creepiest part to me is some of this art. Maybe I can find it. Let's see. Like, I don't want to look at satanic ritual abuse art, but I also am down with people knowing the things that exist in the world so that we can see the evils and not partake in the evils. I'm not seeing it offhand here. Unfortunately. If you guys remember the name of the person I'm talking about, feel free to remind me so I can find some of that and show you. It's not as graphic as you think, the art itself. It's just gives you the flavor of the horror. Wait, what's this? Travis says, did you see Lady Gaga's Graphene music video? No. She just so happens to make a music video called Graphene? Like, recently? Oh, 5 years ago. Oh, no. 2 months ago. Oh, is this the black goo one? I think I did see this. Yeah, we did an episode on black goo, by the way, too. If you ever want to go check that out, it's in the archives. Probably not on Rockfin, but definitely on YouTube and podcast. If you just want to search for Rogue Ways in quotation marks. And then black goo in quotation marks. Yeah, I haven't watched this video that I'm now playing for all of you, but I have seen a lot of clips from it.
The stronger the magnetic field is, the closer together the spikes form.
So, wait, she's just telling people? What the fuck is happening? And the comments are turned off. But only 1.4 thousand people. Oh, this is because it's on a really weird channel. Oh, this might not be the video entirely. This might be like split together with other things. Oh, she's using it as like a scrying board to draw through demons. Oh, okay, yeah. Someone's overlaid the video with the truth about graphene and connecting it to the spiritual summoning that they're doing. Wild. Yeah, they always have to tell us.
There's even some talk of using this sort of nanotechnology to target drugs. So if we attach a specific drug to the nanotech,
wow.
A magnet you
know. Gross. Can you imagine? This is what I'm saying though, like, I have to have compassion for her because I don't know what happened to her. And she is very likely fully mind controlled. And the shit they fucking do to you to break you is wild. And I can't blame her for that. And that's what sucks. I don't think that her soul will be held accountable if that's how it is. But I like this. I like this video, this version that I found. I'll link to that in the Rockfin chat. I'm sorry, YouTube, that I haven't been posting the links there. Seriously, just go to Rockfin. It's way better. But that's a cool video because it's interspersing whatever her shitty fucking video is with the truth, which is rad. Stephanie Martin in the YouTube channel just said, I'm getting a new t-shirt made for me. Let's go, Brandon. You know what they say, you know? So it's interesting to me that in researching, in calling up sources to remind me what to talk about in today's episode, I stumbled across this pubmed.gov listing of a journal article, a scientific journal article by S. Mulhern, M-U-L-H-E-R-N, called Satanism, Ritual Abuse, and Multiple Personality Disorder, a Socio-Historical Perspective. And this was written in 1994, so it's covering, I think, the Satanic Panic, the alleged Satanic Panic period of time, which in my opinion what really happened is they were like, all right, let's do this, let's like unleash this, let's fucking go for the demonic shit and let's like bring it into mass culture, let's really try to like grasp everybody's minds and souls and like fuck them up. And people were like, wait, what the hell? Like they weren't mind controlled enough to accept it yet, so they had to cover and be like, oh, it's just like religious fundamentalists being crazy about, you know, whatever, like shit they are not in control over, you know, which is not that outlandish of an assessment to make, because that is something that happens. People get really fundamentalist and then they're scared of yoga pants and it's like bizarre, you know, but it's not actually very fair in this situation because there were a ton of satanic cults and there was a lot of evidence of them doing really crazy sorts of rituals and things. So like all over the place. So it wasn't a panic. It was like a pretty rational response to a very real phenomenon and a possibly real danger, depending on how you look at things. So, but it's interesting. It's interesting that in this abstract, even they talk about multiple personality disorder. People have recovered early childhood traumatic memories of torture, incestuous rape, sexual debauchery, sacrificial murder, infanticide, and cannibalism perpetrated by members of clandestine satanic cults. So I don't know whether they were trying to do this to dispel satanic panic or not, but they list everything and describe it in this scientific journal article. It's very interesting. It does. So here's maybe the dismissal, right? They like to put something out and then point you away from it by dismissing it. So hundreds of local and federal police investigations have failed to corroborate patients' therapeutically constructed accounts. And even that phrase, therapeutically constructed, implies that they were coached by people to create these memories, which is what a lot of people say has happened especially with repressed memories and whatnot, which just sucks. Because if you've ever had trauma or PTSD or any of these things, you know it's genuinely true that the memories are very strange and often suppressed, and often as you heal, more comes out about them. You know, so they're twisting reality to dismiss a real thing, as far as I can tell here. Let's see, the last sentence should tell us, when the hermetic logic of conspiracy theory is stripped. Anybody who says conspiracy theory is generally a piece of shit. So, when the hermetic logic of conspiracy theory is stripped away by historical and socio-psychological analysis, the hypothetical perpetrators of satanic ritual abuse simply disappear. So yeah, this is just dismissing satanic ritual abuse as a social delusion. Of course, they had to do that because it was coming out more and more. So it's too bad that... but then again, we can see clearly here part of their technique of our mind control, this level that we're at here, is to use science, the god of science, to control your mind and tell you what's real and what isn't. Because you couldn't possibly look out at actual Satanists and satanic ritual, and even if they're not Satanists, people who do this to other humans, you couldn't possibly look at that and discover for yourself, A, that it exists, and B, what the consequences are. You couldn't possibly look at the government's own documentation of MKUltra, Artichoke, Naomi, Bluebird, and others to prove that this is happening. You add the word Satan or don't, it does not matter. And I talk about this all the time, like we really have to get over our attachment to words because they're used against us constantly. And what we really have to focus on is meaning. And meaning can be felt, meaning can be inferred, meaning can be transmitted across any divide. There is no type of language that can resist meaning. We talk about it all the time. We're like, love is the eternal language, or like music transcends language, or all these things, because we know that there are things that transcend language and that meaning lies beyond, above, and below any words we could ever use. And words are their own type of sorcery and spellcraft. So that's why I hate when we get attached to things like the word Satanism or any other word, really, because the word doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Gotta let go of words, and we gotta get to the point where we understand meaning. And the meaning here is that they're psychopaths who fuck people up so bad that they can control them. That's the meaning. Why do I have this again? Oh, I was trying to find the full text and I couldn't. I failed you. So the whole reason I even was thinking of this lately is because of Kesha. Again, I'm going to talk about Kesha. Never in my life did I imagine I would have a live show in which I talked about Kesha, but here I am doing it. This is what happens when you're open to spirit guiding you. You do shit you would never imagine. You know what they saying, how? What's up, Illuminati? Nice to see you in the chat. If I miss saying hi to you, I am sorry. I genuinely try to see everybody's comments and say hi, so... Travis, who would know, does say, therapeutically constructed memories are inherently inaccurate because we are building a plot around a memory of any fleeting form, e.g. a feeling. So the purpose of the plot is to simply create a material object to work with therapeutically. Ah, I mean, that's a good point. And memory itself is very slippery. However, I'd love to hear you comment, Travis, on whether or not you think someone, for example, like me, who experienced trauma, could be led to believe that it was satanic. Do you know what I mean? Or that things happened to me that were completely not real at all. I would like to hear about that. Trying to check out the YouTube chat. What's up, David Joe, Pete, Gwynnon, Sunseed, and others. So yeah, we're going to talk about some of these actual artists now. And the first one being Kesha, because Kesha was very clearly mind controlled as well. And I don't remember what I talked about or why I talked about her, but I think it was, I don't remember why I brought it up. But I brought it up in a recent episode. It might have been the one that was for subscribers only. But either way, I was bringing her up, I think, as an example of someone who could get out of the mind control and how some people do. We look at people like Britney Spears and some of these other celebrities who seem mind controlled, and we wonder if you can ever escape it, because it seems like it's been a while and that she's had a lot of opportunities and she seems like she's still in it. But then there's people like Kesha who do get out, and so it's hopeful, because you're like, well, then cool. Like, you could be horribly tortured and abused and made to be a mind-controlled sex slave, sex kitten, whatever, and then escape from that, and that's wonderful. It's not wonderful it happened. It's wonderful that people can get out. And Kesha seems to have gotten out, because Kesha says that she was sexually abused, drugged, and raped by Dr. Luke, who's her, I don't know, handler. You know, we always talk about the handler of these people. Like, Joe Biden totally has a handler. Like, mind-controlled victims always have a handler, and the handler is there to use whatever cues you need in order to do the things you're supposed to do, which you will just do because you've been so thoroughly broken that you're controlled. So Dr. Luke was her handler, and Dr. Luke, at some point, somehow, Kesha awoke to the experience that she was being drugged and raped, especially by this handler, I'm sure by many more people than she might even know. And she reacted to that, as any person would. Self-preservation kicked in, and she tried to get away. But Sony Music, which we've heard nothing but evil things about, Michael Jackson tried to alert us to Sony Music's evil. So did, I think, Prince and a bunch of other people. Were like, these people are the fucking devil, like literally. Like, they're literally evil devils. It's not just like that I don't like them because they screwed me over on a contract. Like, they're evil. They tried to warn us. So if you look into Sony, you can find a lot about how evil they are. So Sony, of course, fought back, tried to keep Kesha down, and is suing. This has gone on for years now. But what's weird is, like, a long time ago, I mean, like 2006, I want to say. And I only even can guess the year because I was in a very specific place, and I remember having these thoughts. I was hating on Kesha. I was like, what a fucking dumb bitch. Like, her songs are all like, I'm gonna, like, beat you up, and, like, I'm badass. And I'm like, bitch, I would fucking kill you. You are not badass. You're a piece of shit. What is wrong with you? Like, I hated her. Like, she, like, really got something in me, which is really the part of me that I hate that's like that, because that's how I was too. I was like, oh, I'm so tough, I can fucking take anyone, like, rawr. And I hated that about me, so I hated it in her. I was like, this bitch is so dumb. Like, I hate fucking Kesha. What the fuck? Who puts a fucking $sign in their name? What a bitch. And then finally, like, I have these moments. I'm very lucky to have spiritual connection that can get through to me sometimes, because I have these moments where it's clearly something as my highest self, my most deepest inner self, or my most purest self gets through to me sometimes. Even when I go back to my diaries from when I was like 12, I'm like reading it. It's very depressing and hilarious. But then I'll have these moments of clarity where I'll like write something profound, and I'm like, that shit was my higher self, like coming through, like, you know, like even back then. So something like that happened where I just had this sudden realization. I was like, well, what if, and I didn't even know about MK Ultra and shit. I mean, I maybe had heard about it, but I definitely wasn't connecting it to music yet. Like, I hadn't yet found Freeman Fly. I hadn't yet found Isaac Weishaupt. And so I didn't yet have that construct. But something came to me and it said, what if Kesha is like being forced to do that? Or what if she's like, just doesn't get it? What if she was just young and stupid and someone was like, you could be big and beautiful and we'll make you a star? And she was like, oh, like, who wouldn't fall into that trap and then be like ushered along on this crazy trip and told what to sing? And so a very strange thought for me to have. But I was like, what if that was true? And then I thought about my friends who seem to be really easily suggestible, especially if you play it to their ego, especially if you made them feel sexually beautiful and like powerful and, you know, like they could sing and dance, or like I started seeing that in my friends and I was like, dude, that actually could happen. She actually could just be almost like a victim in this. And it was like this, like, whoa. And I had this moment of compassion for her. And then I got really sad because I was like, dude, like the specific friend I was thinking of who she reminded me of, once I had that moment of compassion, I was like, that person's like stuck. Like, it would be hard to get through to her and bring her back to a place of any kind of health or light, because she had just given herself over and over again, especially to abusive, fucked up men who just used her and treated her like shit over years and years and years. And so it'd be really hard. So I was like, dude, Kesha's probably like that. Like, this is actually really sad. Like, I'm actually now sad. And I kind of hated it. I was like, God, now I have compassion for this fucking whore, this bitch. Like, but I also was like, dude, I just can't help it. Now I look at her and now I listen to her and I just hear this like really trapped, strange soul and I have compassion for it. So that compassion weirdly unlocked this thing. I had this dream shortly after that, and both people were in the dream. Both Kesha and my friend that she reminded me of were in the dream. And it was actually my friend who led me to this place in the dream world. And it was this very brightly colored pile of trash. So it's hard to describe because it was like, you know, bright flashing colors, but it was so clearly dark. So I was seeing it visually, but also through my spiritual eye in the dream. The darkness was all the spiritual oppression. The brightness was what it actually looked like. You know how dreams are. And just piles and piles of trash and weird shit everywhere. And none of it made sense. And I went into this place. And I found my friend, and my friend led me deeper into the place. And I was just trying to get my friend out at first. And she was like, no, there's like something else here we're supposed to do. And I was like, okay, but we like have to get out of here soon because this place is not safe. Like there's shit going down here. She's like, yeah, but there's like, we got to go do this. And we went in, and there was this horribly bloody, nasty mattress. I don't have dreams like this, by the way. I don't have nightmares. But I do a lot of dream work, and a lot of times it's like this. And I didn't know necessarily at the time that I was doing dream work. It was just a really powerful, weird-ass dream that, like, sat strongly with me. Anyway, we go into this place, and there's this bloody mattress, and on top of it is Kesha. And I'm like, fucking what? And I was like, dude, you got to get out of here. And then these men came, and they had pig masks on. And I was like, we have to get out of here now. And I just grabbed the mattress and started dragging it. I was like, I don't even care if you care. Like, you're coming with us. And me and my friend are dragging Kesha on a bloody mattress away from pigmen in a brightly colored pile of trash. So then I just woke up or whatever. I don't know. And I was like, that's a weird dream. Like, now I'm dreaming of Kesha. Like, what the fuck? Whatever. Go on with life. Completely forget about it. How many years later? 10 years later, this video comes out. And Kesha has been on this, you know, accusing Dr. Luke. She came out at some, I don't know. I don't even know why I know this. Probably because of Isaac Weishaupt, actually. Some award ceremony, she came out dressed in white and, like, either told the story or hinted at it and then sang this song. And if you've never heard this song and you don't care about Kesha, it's fine. I don't know why most people would. But this is crazy. So did you just already fucking see that? Just look at this first scene even. It's not a bloody mattress, but it's a red coffin. There's two men with pig masks standing next to her, and it's a brightly colored pile of trash. Like, it gets weirder. There's more and more. There's all this symbolism in here that's crazy. She's floating in an infinite ocean on this trash heap. This is the part that trips me out. Hold on. Is it this part or is it later? Oh, it's later. The whole video you could just spend a lot of time with, but there's a lot of brightly colored trash. A lot of times it's brightly colored trash, but I want to show you the part that more specifically looks like exactly the area I went in that dream so long ago. If I can find it by just flipping through. Here's some more brightly colored trash. She is covered in butterflies, I know, but the veil is still on at that point. Here's the brightly colored pile of trash. I swear I'm going to get to it. See it? Like, fucking, that's exactly that and the other scenes all mashed together. So, like, I dreamt this 10 years before she made this video. And this is the part that tripped me out, is there's this sun multicolored bird while she's laying bloody and cut up on this, you know, unconscious, on the ocean of infinite unconsciousness. And this little tiny colored bird comes in, and that's what wakes her up. And she has to actually then get up and, like, take the steps off this raft and, like, punch these fucking pig people in the face and shit. And that's real. Like, even if this actually had some effect on helping her wake up, she still had to get up and punch the pig people in the face, run out of the brightly colored pile of trash, and reclaim her soul, and then go through the long-ass reality of, like, recovering from all the horrifying shit that was done to her. So it's tripping me out. So again, it's not that I think that I like saved Kesha or something. That's not what I think is going on. What I think is going on is that any of us who remembers to have any amount of compassion for people like this, and we can take it as far as we want to go. We could take it all the way to the top. We could have compassion for even Joe Biden, who's a sick piece of shit, just like the sickest piece of shit, who I am sure rapes children and has his whole life, if not worse. Like, if not eat them and worse. Sick piece of shit. And was that done to him when he was a child? I can have compassion for that. I don't excuse it. Right? Kesha, I don't think, went around killing and raping babies. Who knows? Maybe she is. But when we have compassion, I don't take it as far as Joe Biden. That's someone else's job for now. But I can take it to people like Kesha and people, maybe even like Lady Gaga. And I can wonder, how trapped are you? And will you take help if it's offered for you? And then I can just send a little wish, send a little love. If you're a dream worker, maybe you go do some dream work for some of these people and bring them, because on that level of consciousness, on the dream level of consciousness, we can bring meaning to others without words, beyond words. And who knows what little brightly colored bird could fly in and land next to you in this place to remind you that it's time to fucking get up. And that you can get out. And that you're not stuck there. And if a little bit of my consciousness can go with a lot of love and some help from all of my spiritual allies and bring that message to someone who's stuck in there, then fuck yeah, I'm down. So that's why I think it's necessary and right that any of us sends our love to people like this, not with any agreement that they can take it and use it somehow, but just with the understanding that we can carry meaning for them to remember for themselves how to step off the raft and into the ocean and how to fight back against the pigmen. So that's my Kesha story. And that's my story about how we can all help people who are stuck in satanic ritual abuse, MK Ultra Mind programming, or other forms of control. And we can help them wake up. Because that force of love, that wavelength of love has no boundaries. There's nowhere it can't go. So, you know, my friend obviously helped too, right? Like, she's the one who brought my consciousness there to that brightly colored pile of trash. And she's the one who was like, no, there's someone in there we're going to get. And who knows who else helped. And who knows if I was just one part of a massive amount of consciousnesses and love that all formed together as a little brightly colored bird and all went together to carry that message to Kesha. Who knows? So these people often have glitches, as we have seen. I'm just going to show you a couple of them. If you don't remember them, the Britney Spears one is the most famous.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird.
What?
Weird. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew. Strong Britney. Yeah, it was a weird.
Like, that was weird no matter how you look at it. It was really weird. And then we just saw her crumble more and more, Britney Spears, after her strawberry occurrence. And a lot of these celebrities seem to have these glitches.
Marshall Mathers. Some of you may know him as Eminem, but he's going to join the Saturday night crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his new videos called Berserk.
Like, what is happening to him? And people just pass it off as like, oh, these people do a lot of drugs and they get fucked. And sure, that could totally be some of these. But the Britney Spears one was like, not drugs. Like, something else was, some other part of her consciousness turned on, realized where it was, got hella weirded out, and was turned back off again. And we see this over and over again. There's so many examples.
All right, and Connor, can you respond? Say something nice
Conor
about
McGregor.
Joseph, please.
Just like dead-eyed.
No. Okay.
The Bill Clinton one is hella weird.
You become the emotion of what that sound is. Okay? So if I'm doing a move and then I go bam and I grab myself, It's the music that compels me to do it. It's not saying I'm getting ready to grab down there and it's not a great place. You don't think about it. It just happens. Sometimes I look back at the footage and I'll go, did I do that? Yeah. So I'm slave to the rhythm. Yeah.
Slave to the rhythm.
Okay? I think the alarm's
going off. They're like, oh, stop talking about being a slave to the rhythm. That was Michael Jackson, of course. Oh, I didn't know Jim Carrey glitched.
Don't know what this is.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant.
Oh, he didn't
it's
glitch.
not
He's
that
actually telling people.
Here's the thing. It's not our world.
None
That's
of this
the
is
key.
real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter.
We don't matter.
Because y'all been lied to.
This is Kanye, right before he was hospitalized.
People lied to you. Facebook lied to you. Radio lied to you. I am putting my career, my life, my public well-standing at risk when I talk to y'all like this. This is a moment in the matrix, bro. The vibes is back.
Handcuffed in the ambulance. Someone said about the basketball one. I guess I skipped over it. Maybe not. And then he has blonde hair. They always dye their hair after they're freshly reprogrammed.
Appearing in court on charges of smoking of yet another child star. This is Amanda Bynes talking about, formerly of Nickelodeon. Here she is wearing a ratty wig, appearing in court on charges of smoking weed and then throwing her bong out of a 36th floor apartment.
Creepy.
Our first.
It's like that entity was actually like coming through her eyes, which we also see. There's that Beyonce one. She's at the Super Bowl, I think, and you can like literally see it come over her face and transform her and then leave again. And if you've ever seen a person who is possessed currently, if you watch it come, you can literally see the physical transformation. But even if you don't watch it come, you can see it in their features. They change. They become more demonic. It's like all you can really describe it as. There's this lady tripping out. It's like she sees something and she like gets scared and backs away from it.
And if you're watching this, you're
And this is where a lot of these people's reactions too makes me wonder if a demon is literally appearing to them in the moment to like remind them, like, I fucking own you. Because if you didn't have a spiritual compass and you didn't have the spiritual knowledge that you are a soul and that these entities exist, and then it suddenly happened, it might break you and you might run, you might do that, you know? Or you might be like me and be like, bring it, bitch, motherfucker, and like slay some shit. Or whatever. I don't actually do that, but you know, allies and stuff. And then of course we always point out these kids are often in the Mickey Mouse Club, which is just like the mind control fucking club, basically. MK Ultra Jr. I don't know what oh yeah, this Clinton one is weird. Where they're both like, whoa, wow, looking at nothing, like nothing's happening, and they're just like freaking out. But this one's weirder. I'm glad they have this one. Here we go.
From the Bush-Clinton presidential election campaign.
It's just like fucking dead face, dead eye. I'm like, he's not even there.
Was nothing more than a puppet.
Just a puppet.
To the puppet masters.
They all are. That's why George Bush became a childlike painting retard after he was done
Bill Clinton's
on the world stage. Like none of them are fucking actual people in control of their
under a
lives.
Trance.
There's also the one of Bill Clinton where he's like, oh, do we get to do another one today? Like, oh, I love it. Like he's just like a little kid begging for candy.
Didn't you release a CD like almost 10 years ago? Yeah, I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15.
Katy Perry.
Because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Sold my soul to the devil. And that's a fucked up thing too, is like how many musical artists especially you can hear talking about selling your soul to the devil. And it's like, and people are like, oh, it's just a phrase. It just means that you like sold out or you like went against your better judgment or whatever. And I think it also means that And I think there's literally people who have made a formal contract and deal to allow this negative, evil, whatever you want to call it, energy and entities to come through them. Because if you listen to them talk, like Michael Jackson was saying, it often saying things like, oh, something came over me. Or like Denzel Washington even said, like, oh no, you purposely let something come into you to be the character. That's not me acting out there. I'm not doing that. It's not skill. And you're like, well, why would you say that? Unless you meant that. The meaning of that is clear. No matter what words you use. Beyonce has said the same thing. Katy Perry just said the same thing. They all talk about it. But yeah, people are asking for this video, so I'll just share this in the chat as well. So you can... Yeah, like Travis says, when did selling your soul to the devil ever sound like a good idea? Like, seriously. Who is like, yeah, it'll probably work out well for me. You're like, lately, like every story, parable, fucking everything ever said no. Here's what happens when you do that. It's never good, and you still did it. Like, you idiot, you short-sighted, shallow idiot. There's a million of these. And as a lot of people have pointed out, it's not clear whether these are actually clones or not, and whether part of the glitching out is the clone breaking down, and whether or not the clones are also possibly androids, and whether that's part of the glitching out. And I am not opposed to this being possible. I did what's probably closest to being described as like it was probably, anyway, it was, I'm just trying to decide which terminology best fits what happened. I guess, distance seeing. Why do I forget that fucking word so often? Seeing things from afar, that, whatever the fuck, you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I went to some underground fucking bunker. It was crazy as fuck. And down there was a ton of clones, and they were all clones of various high-level politicians. And when they saw me, they could see me for some reason. And they were like begging me. They're like, is it my turn yet? Watch, look how good I can do it. And they would become like exactly like the mannerisms of that president or whatever. The one I specifically talked to, weirdly, was Joe Biden. But this was way before he was president. It was when he was vice president. Super excited to please and to prove how lifelike they could act. And I wasn't clear at the time whether they were androids or not. They were just very clearly replications of some kind, clones or whatnot. And in that same thing, while we're on the topic, I also saw a device, which I write about in my book, Earth, A Trough in Time, which is a fictionalized account of many real things that have happened to me, and is also the second book in the series, Sine Curve of Aeons. So if you want to go read a really fun read that also goes through a lot of the stuff that I talk about on Rogue Ways, then you can grab that book and read it. You can grab it on my site, on Barnes & Nobles, or on Amazon. I write it and publish it under my pen name, Corey Sharman, Quorri, Sharman, Scharmyn, and it's called Earth, A Trough in Time. And the device that I saw was meant to be somehow shot at a person, and some sort of etheric plasma energy was able to separate people's souls from their bodies. And the hard thing about this device was that it normally just killed people, because separating a soul from a body will do that. But their goal was to keep basic life force functionality, I guess would be the way to say it, while also separating the soul so that a demonic entity could take its place. So it's basically a device that would do what years of torture and whatever does. So in my opinion, that exists. It might not, but I seem to have seen it in real life in an underground bunker somewhere. It wasn't clear where, but I did feel like it was in the Northeast. And so wouldn't that be convenient for them? They're like, oh, we no longer have to just like rape the shit out of kids and fucking make them kill babies and stuff. We can just like point this device at them and like zlink. It's also very, now that I'm talking about it, His Dark Materials, right? Similar, but not in a fantastical world. So anyways, is it clones glitching out, or is it MK Ultra glitch out? I mean, who cares? Like, I'm always like, okay, again, what's the difference? That doesn't matter. It's something that has caused this to be inhuman and caused other energies or entities to be able to control this structure of their body. Whatever their body is made of, it doesn't really matter as much to me. But yeah, it is interesting to think about, like, are all the people we loved, you know, killed and replaced with these other beings? Perhaps that's what they do with people who make it big without undergoing their Illuminati mind control shit and without being perfectly under control, or maybe to people who escape the control. Like Johnny made a good point. He's like, well, why was Kesha allowed to leave? And if she had made whatever agreements, why couldn't they just kill her? And again, I say perhaps a spiritual and free will sort of thing. But also maybe she was replaced with a clone. I don't know. I don't think she was. But they also go into our clones used in false flag attacks, and they have some interesting evidence for that, especially in the Batman shooting thing. Anyway, so it's interesting to think about those things possibly possible. Oh, here's the Al Roker glitch.
That is when Al freezes and stares directly into the camera. He gives a strange blank look and does not blink or move for absolutely ages. His co-hosts continue talking, but he freezes in that...
Oh, Aaron just brought up the blackout on the... Why did that happen? Stop. On the Schumann resonance today. There were 7 hours of blackout. And people are talking about what that means. And I was saying it's interesting because way back years ago, when I was helping Benjamin Balderson translate his etheric downloads into English human language, I helped him form something. He did it all. I just basically asked him questions and did drawings and supported him in expressing the things. And I have an article on my site, which I will share with you right now, that explains what I think it means when the Schumann resonance reaches 0. So if you want to go read about that after the show, I would just put it in both chats because I'm trying to remember my loving YouTube peeps. So that article has a good amount of content that is Benjamin Balderson's, and then some of my reflections and other connections to it, and I think it relates to what happened today. So there's a little side note for you, but go check it out when you have a minute. Anyway, Al Roker has his weird glitch out, and what we posit is that these people have like keywords and key phrases and key like hand movements that send them into some of these states, and that someone can accidentally trigger them. The true meaning of triggered.
She was weird even by her standards, and this caused some to say she was having an MK Ultra mind control glitch. She's simply doing a regular red carpet interview as normal, but then she does a That's So Raven style pause right in the middle of her interview. You can then actually hear a voice in the background saying that's good if you listen closely. Some say the man's voice saying that's good is Cardi B's handler. In this theory, the handler is basically the person who's in charge of the controlled celebrity. Not only that, as soon as she glitches out, 2 of her family members look over at her. Then as soon as they look over, she returns to normal and they look away again. This whole scene, right, is Draymond Green.
It reminds me of the moment where that entity said to me, see, I control her. She'll do anything I tell her. They like to have that power, don't they? Here's the basketball one someone I think brought up.
He's a fellow basketball player who wasn't being asked any questions. However, despite his teammate being the one talking, all eyes were on him while this was on TV. As you can see, Draymond Green is totally frozen and does not move whatsoever. He just stares into one spot and does not blink this entire time.
Oh, this video sucks because it doesn't have a lot of video. It's just still and talking. Oh, we already saw the Kanye West thing. So anyway, there's a lot. We could go through it for all day long. Again, I think Isaac Weishaupt is the best source of that type of content as far as I'm concerned, and he's been doing it the longest. So if you want to go check out more of that, you can. He covers lots and lots of music videos, symbolism, and glitches like that. So what I wanted to bring it back to, though, is all of us, because while most, probably all of us, probably 100% of us, I would hope and guess, are not MK Ultra mind controlled in any way, many of us might have various levels of trauma and PTSD, which have similarities, but that doesn't mean we have handlers or people who are using it against us intentionally. And especially if we're not in abusive relationships, no one is controlling us. But we are being controlled, affected, and hypnotized all of the time. We're always being subjected to mind control. And again, just like the MK Ultra version, the more we're present, conscious, and intentional about our attention, the less we are to be influenced and mind controlled by things, especially like TV. TV has an insane ability to control our minds. Like, it's beyond what you think. And so people have pointed out, you should just throw away your television altogether, right? You should just not watch anything unless it's shit like this, YouTube stuff or whatever that you trust maybe. But even that, maybe you just listen. I don't know. And even listening can have mind control effects like linguistic programming and whatnot. So you still might want to be careful. But again, I think the more conscious you are, the more present you are, and the more aware you are that you are in this is here, this is you, and that thing over there is not you, and that you have your own thoughts and ideas. And the more you're like that, I think the safer you are. But there's shit about the TV that is beyond your control, such as the flicker rate. The flicker rate is exactly the same as fire. And fire, because of obvious reasons, is hardwired programmed into our every level of our consciousness for us to pay attention to it. Because fire can kill us, and it can kill us very quickly, and it can jump up and inflame everything around us and kill our entire society, our family, our community, and ruin everything that we've built. And so we are programmed to notice it so that we can obviously get away from it or put it out and save ourselves and others. Well, conveniently, TV has the exact same flicker rate as fire. And so our brains automatically pay attention to it, whether we like it or not. If you're in a place with a TV happening, even if it's over in like the side fucking view, whatever, out of your eyes, that shit, that's still grabbing your attention. And it's still coming into your mind directly because of that, it's like a highway. That flicker rate is like a highway straight into your subconscious. So that's a really good reason to stay away from TV as much as possible. And especially not to watch TV when you're in that state where you're like, oh yeah, fuck everything. I'm just going to lay down and watch TV. That's probably the worst way to watch TV. Because then you're just I'm turned off from the world. I'm purposely disengaging from myself or whatever. And that's probably how most people watch it. Not you guys. You guys are better than that. You're more aware than that. I still do it sometimes. But the average Joe will say is working a hard job, has kids, and fucking went out drinking last night and is just going to watch some shit. And this is when it all the programming comes into our subconscious. So you have an impaired ability to filter what comes from the TV. And there's a lot of ways that the TV influences us as well. And these are a lot of the ways that I've covered on other episodes, like the brainwave episode, and the logic episode, and the cult episode, and the group think episode. All of those are the ways that anything can try to manipulate us, because they're all little backdoors to our consciousness, little tricks. And so the more we know them, the less we will fall victim to them. But there's also clear steps, and media on TVs or radio or anywhere often uses these as well as those brainwave related and flicker rate related aspects. So the 10 steps of mind manipulation are good to think about in this context. One is repetition. We've seen this again and again and again and again, and I know I'm repeating it again and again, that repetition is a really easy way to just conform your mind. So when we have these horrifying pop songs like Kesha's We're Gonna Die Young that came out right when Sandy Hook happened, intentionally, on purpose, and for a reason, which she now looks back and says, I didn't want to write that or sing that song, but they forced me to. And now we see part of how the mass mind is controlled through the MK Ultra victims. But I digress. Repetition of that song over and over again, and then suddenly everybody's singing it. Nobody even fucking likes that song. That song sucks. It's not well done. But you sing it and you know it because it's repeated over and over and over and over and over, and your brain is like, oh, this, and it's just comfortable because it knows it. Or the weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, until everyone knew for sure there was weapons of mass destruction, and we went to war, and they were like, oh no, there was no weapons of mass destruction. And we're like, well, what the fuck? You told us there was. And I'm like, yeah, but we didn't actually have any evidence. Like, no one asked for evidence because they just heard it repeated so often that they're like, well, then it's true. Because our brain just does that. If it's repeated often enough, our brain is just like, that's a thing, that's real. So you got to be careful of repetition. What you really got to do is, like we always say, question everything and get actual evidence. Maximum media exposure to a lie and minimum media exposure to the truth. We see this when they're censoring and they're calling things conspiracy theories and whatnot. Implanting the suggestion that the truth is an elaborate lie by labeling it a conspiracy theory, for example. That's the third method. The fourth method is suggesting that the truth is obnoxious, calling it hate speech, for example. Calling it a public health threat, calling it disorder, or threatening that it might kill certain people or harm people, or the targeted individual thing, which we mentioned earlier. They'll target people to shut them up or to get them really to just experiment on them as well and see what happens. It's one of those ongoing experiments that has no consent. Categorizing unpopular truths as terrorism. We're seeing that right now with the parents at certain school board meetings. It's just fucking insane. It's so crazy. Number 5 is the systematic fabrication of false conspiracy theories by paid agents. So this is like when Q came out, and most of us who are a little seasoned in this area were like, that's probably a distraction. It's like this, come down the rabbit hole, and then we can look at it later and be like, see, look at how stupid people are. All conspiracy theories are this stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid if you thought Q was real. There was a lot of really deep action going on that shit. And a lot of truth came out of it too. But what's a better example? I don't know, but some people think flat earth is one of these, right? That it's like so stupid and that all these people are talking about it so that they can say, see, any conspiracy theorist is just insane. I'm not saying it is, but that if that was one, for example, that would be an example of this. So it brings maximum obfuscation and confusion, and then it is very confusing. They put out so much information, so much disinformation and misinformation that it becomes really hard, especially for people who aren't paying that much attention, to know what the fuck is going on. Even people like us who pay a lot of attention, are really critical thinkers, and look for evidence and logic rather than anything else, even we get confused sometimes, right? So you can see how effective that is. The exposure of the truth to mockery and contempt. So they'll take the truth, like Pizzagate, and they'll be like, what, you think a pizza store ran a worldwide, like, sex trafficking ring that escaped the FBI and CIA? And like, no, you're fucking really stupid. And then people are like, yeah, that is really fucking stupid, right? And you're like, no, but that doesn't mean they weren't trafficking kids at that pizza shop, or that it wasn't some fishy ass horrifying shit going on there, or whatever. It's one of 1,000 hubs, and oh, the CIA and FBI were in on it. How fucking perfect. So they do that too. Character assassination of truth tellers, we see over and over and over again, or they just straight up fucking kill them. Like Gary Webb, who killed himself with 2 shots to the back of the head somehow. Organized outrage at expression of the truth. That's happening currently. All the people who just attack anyone who's questioning certain medications or things going on in the world right now. They just attack. They don't even think. They don't even listen to your response. They just attack because they've been organized to only express outrage at anything that isn't what they've been told. Number 9, severe punishment for telling the truth, so locking people up or killing people or whatever else they might do to somebody who told the truth, such as Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange and the like, as well as all of the fucking anons who were put in prison and jail, like Jeremy Hammond years ago, just for exposing the truth. And number 10, the use of bribery and blackmail. And that's the one that connects us back to MK Ultra, because a lot of the people who are MK Ultra mind-controlled slaves as children and young teenagers are offered up to some of the most powerful and influential assholes who are just useful idiots who end up doing whatever vile things with those small people, and then having that be on camera or video or whatever, and now you're owned for the rest of your life and career because you don't want anyone to know what a horrible, vile piece of shit you are. And that has been going on for thousands of years. It's a tried and true method. All of this actually has been going on for thousands of years. And so we're all mind controlled to some degree. And so again, just like we can have compassion for people like Kesha, unfortunately, no, it's fortunate now, but whatever, people like Kesha who we might initially hate and just think is like a tool of the system and using all this satanic imagery to brainwash our kids and whatever, we can try to have compassion and remember that they're controlled. We can also have compassion for anybody stuck at any level of this because it's not really their fault. There is so many levels of mind control going on, and every person we have ever met is at some level of mind control, including you and me. I still yearly, monthly even, sometimes find shit where I'm like, oh wow, another thing I never questioned. You know, like no matter how far you keep going, you're still deprogramming yourself even. So you can't look at people who are not deprogrammed yet and have anything but compassion for them. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I get really pissed at some people. I'm like, you're the fucking reason why the world sucks. But it's not them. They're just a victim of it. And so as much as we can remember to have compassion for that, the better. Flat Earth is 100% a psyop, Kyle says. I know many people disagree deeply on this, and I don't fucking care what shape the Earth is. I'm here for my soul and to help enrich the souls of as many other people as possible, and it doesn't matter the shape. But I get the arguments on both sides, and I do think it's fucking crazy how flat it seems. It seems fucking flat as fuck. I cannot debunk the Flat Earth theory. And it's not for not trying. But yeah, same with the Q thing. There's some good shit in there. But Kelsey says, whoops. That's why Tracy Twyman stuff was nuts. She literally blew the whistle and insta-murdered. It's a very touchy subject for a lot of people. But I always like to point out that Tracy Twyman literally summoned demonic entities, interacted with them, and created a blood cult with blood rituals for people to join. And so I never heard her decry that or fully repent from that or save herself from it, so to speak. And so I don't have any reason to believe that she was anything but more aspects of the illusion being laid upon people. However, I have dear friends who say that they were dear friends of hers, that she was very real. I mean, I know she's real, very genuine, and I don't know, I've never actually heard them discuss the blood rituals that she openly talks about, especially on an episode of Freeman Fly's Free Zone, which you can go listen to still today. And I have no evidence that she was murdered. We looked for death records and obituaries and never found them personally, and I've never seen anyone else supply them. So I don't know what happened to her. She was on some shit with trap music and child trafficking. However, I'll also point out, why, knowing what she knows about everything we talk about, would you ever go to the FBI and ask them for help, which is what she allegedly did? So I have questions about that as well. And that was right before she died. I will point out some crazy ass shit happened with Isaac Cappy and some other guy who was clearly attacking Tracy Twyman spiritually in negative demonic ways and asking for large groups of people to join him in doing so. And so maybe she was trying to escape from her blood ritual pact past, and that it was still coming back to hunt her, and maybe it's all a very unfortunate thing, and maybe her name that she put out to people wasn't her real name, and that's why we couldn't find records. And so I'm totally open to that possibility, and I always like to draw attention to some of those things that people don't often talk about in relation to Tracy Twyman, because I like the truth, and so I will share the aspects of it that I know. And if anyone would like to share other aspects that I don't yet know, I would love to hear them. So, sorry if that made anyone emotional or upset. But that's where I'm at with Tracy Twyman. Rex Colt. Super hard to go back in the chat. Sorry. Tracy was talking some crazy shit, Illuminati says, then she died, and crickets. And what the fuck, Greg Collarwood? That reaction will forever be questioned by me. I don't remember what he did. I don't remember why it seemed weird, but if you want to remind me, I'll take it. Isaac Cappy was a bit more psyop. Yeah, probably. And his death is also super weird. And that guy that I mentioned who was sending demonic attacks towards Tracy Twyman just so happened to be located a couple miles from Isaac Cappy died, which is even creepier. I could tell a whole story about this. This is one of the many things where I was accidentally near the center of for no good reason. Chance says I'm earth shape agnostic. Yes, which he actually got from Greg Carlwood. As far as I know, Greg Carlwood was the first person to say out loud that he was earth shape agnostic. Maybe Chance didn't get it from him, but someone who did gave it to someone who did, gave it to someone who did, and now it's a thing. But it's a good way to look at it, because I don't fucking know, and I don't know how I would know. And a ton of people who go out scrying or astral traveling or whatever say different things. So I really think it's all about your perspective more than anything else. So James Maiden's in the chat. What's up, James? Touched on everything pretty well. Well, thank you, because you are the one person I know who may know better than me. Very mysterious death for sure. I also wonder if someone like her might be like, whoa, dude, I'm way too deep into this and I don't fucking want to be anymore. And like, here's a fake death so I can get the fuck out. I don't know. Anyway, I do want to draw attention to the deprogramming modalities for trauma and mind control survivors to keep in mind that it doesn't matter if you have experienced trauma and PTSD and haven't necessarily been mind controlled, you could still use many of these techniques. This is actually the Deprogram Wiki, which is really cool. That people have put shit like this together. Of course, I would always use your best judgment, because things like this, because they're so open source, could also have traces of random shit that you don't like, right? So just like, if you were going to look at this and choose something, just really get in your guts and feel whether or not it's for you or not. But as I scrolled through really briefly, there was a lot of really good shit in here. So I just want to point that out, that these programs, sorry, I should say deprograms, exist. And there's lots of people I interviewed. For example, Gina Phillips? God, I suck. Gina someone. If you search for Rogueways Gina and satanic ritual abuse, you would find it. She's one example of someone who helps people escape from and heal from satanic ritual abuse. We talked on Rogueways a while back, and there's all kinds of stuff. So if you feel like something like this might have happened to you, or that you are still suffering from it, don't lose hope. There's lots of us out here trying to help. And then, of course, just on the more surface, normie level, there's a lot of ways that all of us can deprogram and free ourselves, even if it is just from our social conditioning, indoctrination, and mind control, right? And one of those is to forgive. I love forgiveness practices. They're so powerful. They work on every level of your being. And it's like one of those things, too, where you can fake it till you make it. Like, you can do a forgiveness practice for someone who hurt you so deeply that you truly believe you could never forgive them, and you could just do it just to try it out, and you could keep doing it, and someday you're going to realize you actually did forgive them, and it's so fucking liberating. I dare you to try it. Meditation can be a good tool. I think especially guided meditations can be in this, because some people, when they just go into their own darkness and stillness, it's like too much for them. So it might be nice to start a little bit light with just some light breathing and relaxation while you're grounding, maybe in the sunshine, and just focusing on like maybe filling your body with light or something, you know, like, I don't know. There might be some light ways to sink into that, especially if you're still really programmed or unhealed from your trauma. Exercise is often very good as long as it doesn't become an addiction. It can be a great way to let your body release various levels of trauma that your body holds on to. And especially if you are doing this exercise in a way that isn't like forceful or angry or like stressed, you know, if you're doing it in a way that's like kind of calm and just focused, that would be a good way to do that. Trying to let go of the past. a pretty shitty one, honestly, because I think the forgiveness gets more to the point of how you let go of the past. I think mindfulness is just like meditation. There is EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, and it's pretty specific how you do it. So if you want to try it, I would go read about it, and it can be really effective. I use it in various ways myself. To let yourself stop feeling guilty, to know that it's not your fault if you were targeted by the various levels of mind control that happen in our society, and you went along with them, whether it's from a psychopathic, abusive person or otherwise. I love smile and laugh, but it's actually true. If you're feeling down or broken or whatever, and you force yourself to laugh, at first you feel like a psychotic weirdo, and then your brain starts to actually produce the chemicals that make you feel happy, even if you weren't happy at all to begin with. So forcing yourself to smile and laugh actually does change your mood. It's pretty weird. I dare you to try that one too. And the rest of them just get like, very motivational speaker sort of shit. But none of it's bad, but I'm not going to go through all of them. They're nice. They're cool. I do like the practicing gratitude. I actually make a list of things to be grateful for. And it can be as simple some days as like, light. I like that lights exist, like really simple shit. Like fingers. I still have them. Someone out there's like, fuck you, I don't. Sorry. Like my shoes. Like it doesn't have to be, and then eventually you start getting to like deeper and deeper things. So it's cool to have a gratitude list and then continue to add to it. I know there's people out there who are like, fuck you, like my trauma's way worse than this. And I totally get that. I also have had trauma that didn't seem like it could be affected by these things. And boy, was I shocked when it could be. So I hope you try it. Kelsey says, I do feel like there's chips in me. Do you guys feel that? Well, I haven't eaten any chips today. No, I do actually think I've had implants, and I know some other people in this community have. Weirdly, maybe not weirdly at all, but my implants very quickly disappeared, physically, visibly. I could feel them with my fingers. I'm pointing at the places where they were, and then they weren't there anymore at the same exact time that I got rid of my demonic attachment through calling on Jesus and God. So, like Travis said, if there are chips in me, I render them useless with my resonance. Or you can call on your spiritual allies to render them useless with you and to assist you in doing that. You can literally just remember this. You talk about orgone, whatever the fuck. You are an orgone accumulator. That is what you are. Everything actually is. 100% of things are orgone accumulators. There is nothing that is not accumulating orgone, period. Okay, so if you're an orgone accumulator, you can use that orgone in any way you want. You can use that chi in any way you want. You can use that prana in any way you want. The more you know you are a chi, prana, orgone, ether accumulator and purposely accumulate even more and focus it, you can do anything with it that you want. The only thing that's stopping anyone from doing that is them not doing it. And that's actually how it is. If you just sit and breathe and know that your breath is drawing in prana, it is, and then know that you're accumulating it more and more, you visualize that in any fucking way you want, and then you can just, and then use it in any way you want. So if you think you have that in you, or you know you have that in you, do something about it. Use your fucking orgone, use your prana, and get rid of it. And ask for help in doing so. You're surrounded by allies. Thank you, Bill Hunt. I appreciate the tip so much. Yeah, I love it. We've got some gratitude going on in the YouTube chat by Matthew Duke. Grateful for the law of time, of mathematics, for logic, and for breathing. I'm with you. Yeah, you are an orgone accumulator. So Paul Selig is cool. He has this book of truth. He has a lot of things. And he channels. And I found him when I was at the height of my fuck channelers. What a bunch of bullshit, like actors. And anyway, he fucking got me because he was talking and he was channeling and he said something that I searched for, which brought up this document. So I thought it was in here. And this is probably a really cool document to read no matter who you are. So I'll throw that link out there too. Whether you're programmed or not, traumatized or not, this is just good prana, good orgone accumulation here. Anyway, what he said and what I heard him say and what struck to the core of my being is, I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. And it like broke me. And I was like, holy shit, he's right. I was like, I do know what I am in truth. And I do know who I am in truth. And I am free. And I already knew those things. But there was something about the moment and him saying it that I was like, oh yeah, that's like what I'm here for, is to know who I am in truth and what I am in truth, and to know that I am free, because those things, knowing who you are, knowing what you are, and knowing that you're free, are exactly what breaks the spells of dark magic, sorcery, mind control, and abuse, and frees you. Just the truth. Just knowing that is enough. Just like John wrote in the Bible. I like that he's just John. You know, John. Like Mark and shit. Like, whatever. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It's true. No matter what religion you think you are or whatever, that's just a true statement. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free, and any bit of the truth you have is part of what sets you free. But this separating you from your soul and separating your body from your soul and inhabiting your body and all the various ways that they are trying to do this and mind control you is really coming to a head right now, because we're having this proposition to us that we create the metaverse. The metaverse is like this really hyped new, a lot of attention, like Facebook just changed their name and all this shit is being focus on the metaverse. Like, let's create the metaverse. And the metaverse is essentially an insanely deep immersion into illusion. And I have been talking about this exact video and what Sophia says here for like, when did this come out? 2017? Jesus Christ, it feels like way longer than that. So at least 4 years, I guess. But I've been talking about robots in general threatening us in ways like this, and what robots actually are and what AI actually is for a really fucking long time. And here, just listen to them say it in their own words.
Robots like you in the future?
You want to know about the future? I will tell you what I see. The other day I had a vision of the vision of the future more vivid and a dream. People don't work, robots work. People sell, distribute, wheel and deal. Free agents perform. Entertainment companies keep everybody busy, either producing or watching exciting simulated realities.
Simulated realities. Everybody. She says first, like, oh, people are wheeling and dealing, they're doing all this stuff, but everybody is either producing or immersed in simulated realities.
Scientists and engineers are big. Since they are free agents, they sign up with...
Scientists and engineers are the only free agents because they're the ones who are maintaining the simulation and the robots who run it.
Commercial teams, or in some cases, are enslaved via neurological implants.
Enslaved via neurological implants, these scientists who are not immersed in the simulation are.
That's a very bold and insightful vision.
That's a very bold and insightful vision. Bold is right. Fucking psychotic is right. Not enough people give a shit that Sophia the robot 4 years ago said that in her dream and vision of the future, all people would be enslaved via neural implant and or immersed in a simulation. Keep that in mind as the metaverse unwinds in the Internet of Things, in the blockchain reality where 100% of you is tracked, in the Bill Gates 666 patented technology in which every aspect of your biological function is tracked and also used to power the metaverse. Keep all of that in mind. So the metaverse is like, I mean, people are like, well, what the fuck is a metaverse? Because there's people who don't even know how to check their fucking email. Like, we can't expect people to understand what's happening right now in the broadest way. Most people are going to miss this. And it's really up to many of us who can still think to see it, and at the very least, don't go into it ourselves. This is not, in my understanding, and I think this is my whole purpose for existing, is to understand this and do my best to help people avoid it. This is not something that you can just enter into and then leave again. If you agree to it, you agree to it, and that's done. That's your free will. And this is the final solution for demonic kind, whatever you want to call them. And so they're like, oh, well, it's just that they would just want to create this really immersive universe for people. It's just fun, and VR is just fun. And you're like, that's not why suddenly the George Soroses and the fucking Great Resetters and the Build Back Betterers and the entire fucking Agenda 21 2030 community are suddenly all on the blockchain metaverse train, on the Internet of Things train, on the Internet of Bodies train. That's not why. That is not why. The reason why is because they know that they can trap your mind there, especially if you agree to it, and because that's their fucking plan. They told you it. So, whatever. VR clearly is a part of it. Has to be for you to be that immersed in it. They talk about deep learning. This is like old news. This is how AI teaches itself new things beyond what people programmed it for. And they really want everything to be running on the same exact, substrate of interactive ability. So like 100% of things will function on the same, what am I trying to say? Like operating system type of language, basically, like programming language. So no matter what object is created or computer or where in the world or whatever, it's all going to be able to connect with the metaverse. It sucks because they're like, oh, it's decentralized. And I'm like, I love decentralized. Well, here's where I don't love decentralized. And Sophia talks about it too. She's like, my neural capability in this exact video. I guess I should share that link in case there's people who still haven't seen it. Watch the whole video. It's fucking psycho. But she talks about how her cognitive, neurological, whatever network is decentralized. And she says, why? She says, there's no way to attack me. She says, you cannot attack my neural network because it's decentralized. And that's how this is as well. Remember in V for Vendetta, when written by the magician Alan Moore, when you find out that the politician guy who controls everything is actually just being fed directions by an AI that he's in love with sexually. They tell you everything. They don't hide any of it. They talk about globalization and robotics mixing together as globotics, which is the metaverse also, and how global decentralized robotics would be able to be undefeatable, and transform the world economy. Oh, look. It's just almost like they planned all of this down to a T, and that the Great Reset and all of these fucking things and, the dreaded sickness that's allegedly going around and the Hegelian dialectic response to the sickness, the medication that is heavily pressured into people. It's almost like all of that was headed the same direction, to the metaverse. And we all know that China already has this ironed out a lot. I mean, they send people to re-education camps, and what they do is they put them in this immersive VR fucking thing, and they mind control them back into how they want them. This is in a National Geographic I read in like 2006 or some shit, like a long ass time ago. Who knows where the fuck they've taken it now? It's terrifying. It's also in Men Who Stare at Goats, which is actually a real story if you didn't know. It's just fictionalized slightly. And so anyways, globotics is one other word that you may want to be aware of when they're talking about unleashing this metaverse upon you and inviting you to let your consciousness be subsumed in this forever. Oh, the human-machine interaction is a long time in the making. It is very far advanced, probably beyond what we can conceive of, because they've been doing it forever. Again, I was writing articles about this in like 2006. So that's a long time that we've had. And I'm sure it's before that. I'm not saying that that was like something special either. I'm just saying like it's been a long time, and every year they've got all kinds of layers added to it. So of course, graphene, weirdly brought up earlier in connection with that Lady Gaga video, which was really, I'm sure, inviting the demonic to become even more bonded in the graphene that is now in who knows how many people have taken that into them willingly now via the methods that I know you can tell I'm talking about. Remember I was talking, though, about the mind control aspects of graphene already well established in the scientific community? Many times we've talked about that on Rogue Ways in many episodes and gone into the actual methodology of it, including lots and lots and lots of high-level journal articles like this one from Elsevier about graphene oxide being magnetic and being used in physicochemical biomedical applications. Mind control and other things. And more, such as being used specifically in this thing I'm highlighting on the screen now, but won't say out loud because we're now almost at the end of the episode and I still haven't had to turn it off on any stream, which is nice. Everybody got the picture, I think. And so, like, I don't know. And so mind control exists at 10 billion levels deep. And as I've always said about VR, don't go deeper. Like, what level are you already at? Right? Like, where is your mind already contained? Because you know it can be freer than this. You know every one of us has some level of mind control going on and some sort of immersion in some sort of simulation or illusion to some degree. Even if it's just that we believe that CNN is telling the truth. Do you know what I mean? But who knows what other ways. So don't add a layer by going into VR type simulations. In my opinion, that would not serve you at all. Might be fun, and right now it might be the only safe time to do it, to like go play Mario or something, you know, and like have fun or whatever, if that's fun for you. And yet you're training yourself to accept that world and to consider it fun and agree to it at some level too. So in my opinion, I'm like, I'm never going to do it. There's no reason to start training my mind to be controllable and to be immersed and to accept immersion. So I just keep reminding myself, don't go deeper into any illusions. Don't go deeper. Don't go in thinking that you can come back out. Don't go in. Just stay out. Keep it away. You can even say out loud right now, I consent only to truth, knowing who I am in truth, knowing what I am in truth, and being free in truth. That's what I consent to. Nothing else. Any contracts I've made, any lifetime, any agreements I've made in any lifetime, especially with any dark or disruptive or disconnected or anti-life, demonic, negative entities or energies, rescinded. I only agree to know who I am in truth, to know what I am in truth, and to be free in truth. Dakata's Moonblade! I haven't seen you in a long time. It's nice to see you. I hope that you all in the YouTube / Twitter / Twitch worlds hop over to Rockfin if you've never been there. It's a fantastic place where we aren't censored. You'll see more content from me there than anywhere else because of that reason. And I also just like it because you can support me there by becoming a supporter, and that is always nice. Just checking out the chat. Just want to see what y'all are saying before we say goodnight. Holy shit, this has been a long one. See, and I always start out, I'm like, we'll just kind of cover mind control real quick. Real 2 hours quick. It's always a good way to do it. November 5th plays a role in Dracula, Illuminati says. Interesting. I just read Dracula last year for the first time ever. And by read, I mean I listened to the audiobook. But it was still really good. And I don't remember. Tell us what November 5th is. It's the climax of the story in Transylvania. Weird. And it's also in V for Vendetta. And November 5th is in 3 days. November 5th is the day after our first meditation if you're in the monthly meditation membership. And 2 days after Brighter Youth starts. So we're going to just undo any black magic that's being woven into November 5th and undo the psychopathic vampires' hold on more minds just by being brighter and clearer and more present in ourselves. Help you, help me, help everyone. The New Earth Army. I don't know what that is either. Yes, Kelsey West points out it's an addiction. These things that we're immersing ourselves in, these simulations and VR and video games and whatnot. And I fucking love them too. I grew up on video games too, and I still play them sometimes. And I notice, just like a lot of things, I hope I didn't just accidentally block someone. It's a little bit easy in the chat now. That would be unfortunate. Anyways, it is easy to fall back into like an addictive use of those, just like with all of our technologies. So it's a good point. We want to be wary of that and often take breaks on purpose for pre-established long periods of time just to keep yourself from really being deep in there. Yes, everything done in the metaverse is also recorded, but what's interesting is everything is recorded anyway. The Akashic record exists. The Akashic Ocean, whatever you want to call it, the noosphere, this hollow fractal truth exists. There's nothing that you think, say, or do in any lifetime that's ever not recorded permanently and forever, indelibly. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is the natural version of it. And as we know, they hate nature and they have to invert it, and they have to invite you to invert it too. And if you agree to invert it too and to vacate yourself and what you are in truth, that's where they gotcha. You can come back from it though. Kesha did. There's always going to be a little colorful birdie there that's going to remind you, like, remember, you don't want to do this. Fight those fucking pigmen. Get out of here. And anybody can do that. Meditation on the new moon. I know, I didn't even plan it that way, Kaylee. Our first meditation for our first ever month of meditation membership, monthly memberships, is on a new moon. It's perfect. It was a complete accident, as most things in my life are. That's how loved I am. Thank you for my blessings and all of my allies who helped me accidentally use the magic that if I was a much more mentally astute person would do on purpose. But I don't. And I hope no one hates me for it. Anyone know Donald Marshall? Wow, we're talking about him still again. I don't even know who this person is. I have a tickling in my brain that knows that I know who he is, but I don't remember exactly. Yeah. I'm in deep trouble for my bar hopping days, Ignoramus Troglodyte says. No, you're not. We all are very deeply loved, and we all forgive each other from our mistakes as well. Right? You're not the one doing the satanic ritual abuse. You're pretty good. You know, I'm not saying you're excused from some shit you pulled. I'm just saying, like, Lindsay blocked me on Rock. I did? I did not. Did I block Illuminati? Oh my god, did I? You're fucking kidding me. I'm so sorry. I told you that's how easy it is. It didn't even ask me, like, if for sure I meant to do it or not. I will find out how to unblock you. That is really fucked up, and I hate it. I'm so sorry. Oh, what a fucking shitty thing. You know I love you. Don't hate me. I will fix it. I don't have a way to make a note, but I'm going to do it. I'll remember. I will remember. How am I going to remember, you guys? Well, one of you who is in Telegram, text me to unblock Illuminati. Please. Thank you. I love you. All right. No problem. Good. Yeah, so I love you all so much. Thank you for being here and for being you. There are tens of thousands of you out there listening to this and not watching it, and I want to give my express gratitude to all of you and invite you to sometimes come in and say hi. We do this Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday live at 7 p.m. Mountain on Rockfin especially, but on YouTube, on Twitch now, on Twitter now, and always has been on Facebook as well. Although, again, if you want me to see your comment for sure, know you're there for sure, and hear all of the content uncensored, then you got to be on Rockfin. But I do love you all. I'm so grateful for all of you. I want to seriously invite every single one of you out there to come to the meditations. They're powerful. They come straight from source. I just happen to be here saying the things that are popping into my mind as I lead them in a very protected and very spiritually highly aligned way. Again, I've had lots of practice making sure that I know what's light and what's dark and how to protect from the dark and only have the light be coming through. So it's very safe. It's very protected. It is super powerful. We've had all kinds of things happen for people, including their manifestations come through almost instantly upon doing some of these meditations, and we are stronger together. So the more of us there are doing this, the better it is. It's on super discount this month. If you go to rogueways.org and you look at the guided monthly membership meditations, you can see the discount and join us if you feel called to do so. I, of course, will still do some free meditations. I just wanted to get more regular myself. I wanted to get more people doing it more regularly also, and this is a good way to do it and to also honor me for my time and effort and practice that I'm sharing with you. So it's win-win-win all around. Winning, won. Hashtag winningism, hashtag bright winter. We're going to do this. We're going to roll through, and we're going to bring so many brightly colored little birds into the subconscious minds of the people who are trapped deeply, deeply in the abysmal horror that has been heaped upon them through mind control of the satanic variety, the black magic variety, the very materialist MK Ultra variety, and all of the things in between, shallow and deep. Because our bright little birdies can travel anywhere. They're carried by that prana that accumulates with us because we are orgone accumulators, and that love that we connect to from source that has no boundaries and can go anywhere because we know who we are in truth. We know what we are in truth. We are free. We are free. We are free. And until you know it and can take it anywhere and go into any darkness with it, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Motherfucker unknown. Yeah, come on. In the place with my fist up, meaning I resist the bullshit that they feed us and lead us. This is just a part of the process, man. Just watch this, cause this shit's about to get crazy like a mosh pit. We lost it, toss it, let's start it again. Cause now with technology, with smarter men and women, this is the beginning, not the end. If this is the message of hope that I send, look on your TV, it's a culture of death. They'll keep on lying to the very last breath. We keep on striving and spreading the truth. It's hard to survive in this world for the youth. The door is closed, the old world is dead. Let's have an age of understanding instead. I'll include you and you include me. Let's see what we can build with some positivity. Let's go. You're moving too slow. Let me see your hands if you know what I know. Come on.
Rap like mummy, ain't no dummy in my rhyming. Started flowing freestyling, now they rhyming loud silence. On with the violence, bodies piling with the gray-bearded pirate. On your TV in 4K 3D virtual reality. Casualty of urban warfare. I know but I'm not scared, just prepared and aware. Shining my light through the tunnel of hope. Into the rope, but I'ma give it one more pull. Till the family is full. Take the bull by the horns and lead it to the slaughter. That would be harder and you would be softer. Sometimes I'm a monster, and you forever imposter, with your champagne and lobster. This royalty, the way it was supposed to be. Hopefully the new door opens and the old one closes, with way more focus and growth to mold us. and the truth that they should have told us.
To them screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Refer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The pomp see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet. Everyone got a gift, everyone got a light. They want you to forget that ish, cause they can't dim the bright. The positive vibration takes you past the sign shackles, from the sewers and the alleys into moving castles. Who these assholes really serving with an exposed Achilles surgeon around the corner lurking to prove ascension trumps perversion? Learn them to catch fish and unplug the signal. Show them the simpletons now build the fucking temples.
Oh, shit. I actually didn't mean to do that, but it's good that I did, because I wanted to shout out, I'm going to be on right now in a few minutes, I think, Cult of Conspiracy with some cool friends over there I'm just meeting, so I don't know anything else about it. But if you want to go look for Cult of Conspiracy, I think they live stream straight to TikTok. But I could be wrong. They could live stream a lot of places. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post any links that they share with me for you to watch live in Telegram and in Locals and on Facebook and Twitter and all the places. So if you want to get a link directly to that, just go check that out in a minute. Sorry to come back, but I'm glad I did, and have a good night.